Nathan Hochman joins me now. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you here. So you argued against resentencing the brothers. Why do you think the judge ruled against you?
What we argued about was that resentencing could occur maybe in the future, but not yet, not based on these facts. And we think that the judge took into account the facts, which was our job. Our job was to present all the facts and the law to the judge. The prior district attorney in his motion left off 75% of the facts. So we went back into the records. We dug deep. 50,000 pages of transcripts, hours and hours of videotaped testimony, hundreds of pages of prison files. We interviewed the family members. I personally spoke to the Menendez family members for over 3 hours, and we presented all those facts to the judge.
Right.
Ultimately, the judge decided that there was enough evidence in the record that he would send this case effectively over to the parole board.
You said justice should never be swayed by spectacle after the decision last night. Is that what you think happened here?
Well, what I think happened, and what I want to make sure doesn't happen in the future, is that if there's any idea that because you're the Menendez brothers, because you come from a certain family, because you have a Netflix special, that somehow the LADA's office is going to treat you differently, that it's going to treat the dozens or hundreds of requests that we're going to get from convicted murderers seeking resentencing.
How much of a factor do you think that Netflix special, that documentary, that series was on this case?
Well, I think it was quite influential on my predecessor, who 12 days before an election, without any money left in his campaign coffers and 30 points down in the polls, decided to tap into the media spectacle that was the Menendez case by going ahead and filing the prior motion. What we did once we had that motion already filed is we dug deep and did that thorough and extensive review. And what we came up with is that the Menendezes have made many steps towards the progress of rehabilitation, but they weren't there. They just weren't there at this time. If they do get there, we were willing to reconsider our opposition to resentencing.
The judge said that, quote, these were horrific crimes, but that he was actually swayed by the number of corrections officers who came out supporting the brothers' release.
Well, what's interesting, and you referenced that Sirhan case before, in the Sirhan case, where the parole board actually granted parole and Governor Newsom reversed that grant of parole, Sirhan had a number of letters from prison officials backing his rehabilitation and his parole. But ultimately, the governor said in that case that because Sirhan had not completely accepted full responsibility for all his criminal actions, which is the same position we've been taking in the Menendez case, that factor outweighed the pro-parole factors in Sirhan's case.
Yeah.
It'll be very to see what the governor does with the Menendez brothers.
You cited the state risk assessment report of the brothers, which said that they're at a, quote, moderate risk of reoffending. How many people get released with this moderate risk as opposed to a low risk?
Well, again, part of the significance of it being a moderate risk is that it rose. The Menendez brothers used to be a low risk. But over the last year, while they were awaiting resentencing in a structured environment, which is a prison, they again decided to engage in illegal behavior, deceitful illegal behavior. And what the board-certified psychologists that the Board of Parole hired to do a very comprehensive risk assessment said is that because they effectively don't get it, that they have not changed their behavior while in prison, while waiting resentencing, when you would assume they'd be on their best behavior, that their risk level has now risen from a low risk to a moderate risk of violence if they're set free.
So bottom line, if the governor of California decides to release them, do you think he's making a mistake?
Well, again, the governor is going to look through the same factors he looked in, for instance, the Sirhan case.
Right.
We'll see whether or not he applies the same precedent. If he applies the same precedent, the Menendez brothers might not be released on this attempt for parole. They can go back repeatedly to the parole board and show that they have made these additional changes in who they are and how they approach life in prison and life outside of prison.
Okay.
And maybe they'll be ready for parole.
Nathan Hochman, District Attorney, LA District Attorney, LA County District Attorney. Let's get it all in there and get your entire title. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.